English and local languages and cultures, and an idea about the nature of English as an international English and globalization of English. So that's going to be our topics for today. And if you'll have any concerns, y'all can always ask questions, and y'all can relate back to us, which will be very important to get back to the institution. Thank you. Let me continue. For today, I'm talking about discussing about the varieties of English. When we talk about English in the post-independence in India after 1947, India kept English as an associate official language to bridge language gaps between the North and the South. So, despite it being a colonial legacy, while Hindi was promoted, English remained vital for higher education, law, and administration to maintain national unity and administrative continuity. We're discussing about English in the post-independence India. Now, talking about the administrative and professional use, how it continued to dominate in the legal proceedings, government administration, and professional fields like medicine and technology, where we use English as the language of medium of instruction. Indian English literature. The new era of Indian English writing emerged with authors exploring the Indian realities in a global language. So this is what how our own authors how they describe the language, how they speak it in their own terms of understanding of our language, of English, and how it is dominated by the English people. Now we're talking about the writing of English, how, as a new era, in a new age, in the modern age, how it has emerged with the authors. They're exploring about the Indian realities and in a global language. The associate status, the Constitution allowed initially allowed English to continue for 15 years, but it remained in use beyond that due to the demand from non-Hindi states. Yes, let us continue with our next. Um, as I shared to you the screen, let us go back to what we are doing today. And we know that we are talking about English Indian literature and the associate status, the constitution that allowed English to continue for 15 years. But it remained in use due to its demand for non Hindi states, and we know that it is a global language now. And the University Commission, Education Commission, which happened between 1948 to 49, post-independence education in India aimed to break from colonial elitism and by promoting literacy in regional languages and national unity while keeping English as a key linked language. Policies shifted towards a universal free education, especially at the age of 14, and implemented three language formula to balance regional languages, that is, Hindi and English, decolonizing the curriculum. And it went on, education was revamped to serve national development rather than the British interest, focusing on science, technology, and the identity, national identity. The three language formula, which was by the NEP, National Language Formula, that was 1968, NEP, that was mother tongue, regional was used by the regional language, and It was used for primary education to make learning accessible. And English or Hindi was used as a second language. And English or a modern language, Indian language, used as a third language to promoting both language proficiency and national unity. The focus on universal education. The Constitution set up a goal for its free and compulsory education for children between the age of 14 and above, establishing massive expansion in the primary and rural schools. The structure reforms were that the education system was organized in a standard 10 plus 2 plus 3 structure, that is, 10 years of secondary, 2 years of higher secondary, and 3 years of undergraduate to unify the standards across the country. And role of English, despite anti-English agitations and a push for regional languages, English was retained as an associate of the official language, and it was a crucial language for higher education administration. Now we're discussing about um, as and science ensuring that access to global knowledge was very important. English goes international, that is, it goes global. English indeed has become the world's primary lingua franca, and with an estimated 1.5 to 2 billion speakers globally, meaning that non native speakers now outnumber the native speakers by the ratio of 3 to 1. And ebonics, what we are going to talk about, the different ways of speaking the language. That is, ebonics means the African American vernacular language. That is AAVE, and is a distinct dialect of American English spoken by many African Americans. It is not broken English, but it is rather a structured English system with its own grammatical rules, vocabulary, and pronunciation, often blending with African language patterns and with English. Pidgin English is simplified, makeshift language that's created to help people who speak different native languages to communicate. That is, often for trade. It combines words from a main language like English with the local language structures, having limited vocabulary and similar grammar. It is not native tongue for anyone. Simple language, simple grammar. It skips the complex rules such as using gendered words or conjugating verbs for tense. Example, I go might mean I went or I am going. The mixed vocabulary here, purpose is driven. How, how, how you day? How you day? That means how are you today? And I want chop means I want to eat. Make, make we go. Let's go. This is how the different formular languages are being spoken about. Now, talking about the new Englishes which have come into the existence. When we talk of new Englishes, they are the regional varieties of English that developed in places where it is not the native tongue of the majority, but usually former British colonies. These varieties of Indian, Nigerian, or Singapore English have become localized, unique forms used in education and government, mixing English with local vocabulary and grammar. Locally grown, they are not imported from Britain or America, but developed with their own countries' unique features. They have their own distinct vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, Singaporean English, Singaporean Singlish, and Nigerian English cultural blend. They incorporate words and structures from local languages and official status. Hey are used in newspapers, schools. They are used in newspapers, schools, and government offices in their respective regions. Indian English, Nigerian English, Singapore English, often called as Singlish, and Philippine English and Kenyan English. Now let's go to the next um, slide, and that is in India New Englishes, which have come into existence. New Englishes are unique localized forms of English that grew in countries where English was not original native language, such as India, Nigeria, Indonesia, and Pakistan. and Singapore. Unlike British or American, these varieties are deeply influenced by local languages, culture, and grammar, resulting in a distinct accents, vocabulary, and sentence structure. Hybridization. The Indian English often combines English with the local vocabulary, sometimes creating Hinglish, Hinglish, or other mixed language forms. The grammatical shifts, common shifts that were included using the present continuous tense differently. Example, I am knowing it, or specific article usage. What is your good name? So, unique vocabulary. The Indian English includes specific words and phrases, often called Indianisms. Example, cousin, brother, prepone, biodata for CV, and pass out for graduation. Cultural fusion. It is valid. It is a valid, widely used variety influenced by native languages like Hindi, Tamil, and Bengali. The pronunciation. It has a distinct rhythm and intonation. Prosody that differs from standard British or American English. Let's talk about the Pacific varieties of English. The Pacific varieties of South Pacific Englishes are that they are institutional varieties, and they are emerging from South Pacific as a non-native institutionalized varieties. They often serve as an official second language, that is ESL, used in education, government, and media. Localization. The blend standard English with local ingenious Pacific language structures and vocabulary. Reduced formality. They may have different grammatical rules compared to the British or American English, focusing on clear pronunciation. Influence of neighboring powerful Englishes. While distinct, these varieties are also influenced by Australian English, which is dominant in that region. Fiji English, the most academically recognized Pacific variety. Samoan English, an emerging variety with unique grammatical structures. Cook Island English, another distinct developing variety of English in the regions. Let's talk about American English compared to standard British English. In American English, that is AME, that is American English, is often categorized by specified spellings, direct vocabulary, or informal phrases, prioritizing efficiency. Key examples include the using of fall for autumn, faucet for tap, vacation for holiday, and shortened spellings like color versus British color or math versus maths. One, two, three. The examples. For American English examples, the vocabularies that we use here are apartment, they call it the apartment. In United Kingdom, they call it flat. Elevator in American English, and in UK, it's called lift. Diaper is used, diaper, which the children use or people are using these structured um, mm, vocabulary, and in UK, it's called nappy. The sneakers, the shoes which people wear are called sneakers, and in UK they're called trainers. The spellings AR instead of OUR, that's COLOUR, and honor HONOR is the spelling in in America, and and harbor HARBOUR in the UK, and it's HARBOR in the United States. So ER instead of RE, center, meter, theater, IZE instead of ISE, organize and realize. Okay, now we're talking about now about we finished with the American. Now talk about the Australian English. Often the accent always it's called the twang or the strine. It's characterized by a relaxed, lazy mouth movement, high pitched nasal tones, and long stretched out vowels. It sounds like a blend of British Cockney and Irish accents that has been simplified and left out to dry in the sun. Examples of the pronunciation: in standard US pronunciation, day. In Australian pronunciation is die, die, or closer to die. Light is called light, light, light. A, a sharper or a more nasal sound of light, and in Australia it's called I, and then we call it light. That's how the pronunciations are compared to the American or the British English. Now, talking about the reggae, what is reggae? Reggae is a sound, is a beat, it's a popular sound, popular music that originated in Jamaica in the late 1960s, and it's characterized by a slow tempo, a heavy bass line, and distinctly steady beat on off beat. The reggae is very popular music genre, and it originated in Jamaica in the 1960s, characterized by a slow tempo, strong bass lines, and distinctive offbeat rhythm. Skank. It's emerged from ska, or the rock steady, becoming the global voice and social justice, politics, and spirituality. Origin: the it's created in Jamaica by blending local musics, ska and rocksteady, with American blues, soul, and calypso sound. Known for its skank guitar beat, accenting uh, the second and the fourth beats, and strong melodic bass. So the lyrics often for social justice, peace, love, resistance, and against oppression and the culture. The key literary genres include fiction, non-fiction, poetry, drama, and folklore. The romantic are focusing on romantic love stories, and fantasy and reggae beat, and reggae is it features on magical supernatural elements, often inspired by mythology. Now, talking about Indian English. English, as we call it, H is pronounced with the hybrid language mixing English, commonly known as the urban English, and the social media. It combines with high vocabulary with English sentences structure and uses Roman script to write Hindi. Jaldi karo, guys, or we'll be late. What are you? What's your good name? Asking for a name politely. Ruk gaya temporarily. It stopped temporarily. Common examples are Indian English are English pencil, 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 and then sounds like pencil dena. They say said means said, S-E-D. It's pronounced as S-E-D, said. Friend is pronounced as friend, and then blood is pronounced as blood or blood. What, why this happens is English is a mixture of many languages, like like old Germanic roots, Latin, French over time. The pronunciation changed, but the spelling stayed old. Now, talking about Cockney English, which is in our last PowerPoint presentation, which we are taking you through the last slide. Cockney is the traditional working class London accent and dialect, famously associated with rhythmic slang and specific pronunciation changes, like dropping the H sounds and replacing th with the f, and it originated in the East End, traditionally defined as anyone born with a hearing distance of the bowels, and apples and pears, chairs. So bag and bone, that's phone. Butcher's hook, look. Take a butcher's hook or look. Take a butcher's look. Or mince pies, eyes. China plate, mate, friend. Then key accents features simple terms. Example: F and TH, thin becomes fin, math becomes maths, and V becomes V for TH, brother for brother, and my becomes me, that's my car, becomes that's me car. And then standard English, I'm going up to the stairs to use the phone. Cockney English, I'm going up apples to use the dog. So these are the different types of Englishes which we have learnt in today, and I hope you enjoyed the class. And there's a lot of reason for learning all this. That it gives us a lot of insight about the way English is spoken in the world. So it's very important that we need to be apprised with the modern day English language and how it is used and how it is necessary for us to learn about the language, how it is spoken in different but different accents and different places, how it is used, and how English has become thus global. Picking up right from the picking up right from the uh, the regional structures of how English is used. So, how English is used, and mm, and it's very important to know the language and its structure. So, thus, we have learned today about the different ways of speaking the language through the American accent, the Pacific accent, the New Englishes, and how English goes global. So, let us review once again the varieties of English, that's Ebonics, New Englishes, Cockney English, and and English during the we started with how English has gone through the post-independence English and how Indian English literature was used and English was written and emerged with authors exploring Indian realities in a global language and the global stage during the post-Indian Education Commission between 1948 and 49. How Indian English goes global, and how it was called Ebonics, which is an African American vernacular language. Then we have the Pidgin English, that's a makeshift language that's created for the people who speak different native language to communicate, often for trade. And that is that is a main language like English with local language structures. And then the simple English, with simple grammar. It skips off certain letters, certain words. How are they? Like how are you? How are they? And make me go, like let's go. And it's just that we understand the language, how it is spoken, and we understand what exactly the person wants to convey. Then we have the new Englishes, which is the Nigerian, Indian, Singaporean English, the Philippine English, and the Kenyan English. Now, from this, we are going down to the next slide, which we learned about the varieties of new Englishes, which are about the hybridization. That the Indian English often combines English with the local vocabulary, sometimes creating Hinglish. That's a mixture of many language forms. That's using the grammatical shift. For example, I am knowing. Where what is your good name? And then for CV, we say biodata, and for passing out, graduating, we use such words. And the cultural fusion, whereas it is influenced by national languages like Hindi, English, Tamil, Bengali, and so on. Where and in pronunciation, the prosody, that's the different standard of written English. There's a rhythm and intonation. Then in the Pacific varieties of English, the localization, how it's reduced formality and influencing by neighboring parts of the language, the Fiji English, the Samoan English, and the Cook Islands English. Then we learned about the American English compared to the British standard of English. There is where they use apartment for British, for the American English, and in UK they call it the flat. Elevator, and in UK it's called the lift. Diaper, which is called nappy in UK, and the sneakers are called trainers in the UK. So these are the spellings: color, honor, and harbor. The U is not used in American English, whereas in the British English we use the U for color, COLOUR, and honor, HONOUR, and harbor is HARBOR. R-B-O-U-R. So, and then when it comes to meter, it's M-E-T-E-R. So they use the I-Z-E, meterize, organize, realize, and so on. And in Australian English, where we use where the words are like die. For D-A-Y, they call it die, like as in D-I-E. And in light, it's light. It's loud, it's light, where it's the sharper and the more nasal sound. Then we spoke about reggae. Reggae is a band of music which is popular in Jamaica in the late 1960s with a slow tempo. And then they had a steady beat and offbeat. It's a general music genre, as I said, and it's a slow tempo beat. And it also originated by Jamaica and blending the local music, ska, and rocky steady with American blues. So the sound is for skank and guitar beat, and the second beat and the fourth beat, strong melodic bass beats, and they're overlapping. And then they have fiction genres including romance, fantasy, science fiction, thriller, mystery, and so on. Then we spoke about our very Indian English, where it's sad is called said, S-A-I-D is said, pronounced as how said, how sad. Friend is pronounced as where we miss out certain letters. In blood, we call it blood. Blood. So, uh, why this happens is English is a mixture of many languages like Old Germanic and roots Latin and French over time.